Okay, so welcome everyone to the workshop for the Eskom Expo. And this workshop is aimed at assisting learners and teachers to prepare for the District Expo, right? So for those that are new to the Expo is an opportunity for learners from grades 4 to 12 to present their own innovative research projects in the field of STEMI, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, in that field. So the Expo, which is funded by Eskom, and we are a non-profit organization, right? So we coordinate this competition, the science fair for learners. It's an opportunity for learners to show off their skills as scientists and researchers. Okay, so remember from grade 4 to 12 can participate at a district level. We can even have foundation phase at a district level if they're interested. There's N1 to N4 learners, national. So from the District Expo, we're going to be selecting learners to participate at the Regional Expo later in the year. And at that Regional Expo, then we will further select learners to represent the province at the International Science Fair, and grade 8 to 12s can participate internationally, right? So remember, learners, you can participate as individuals, one learner per project, or we can have two learners doing one project. But if you're working as a group, that means two learners doing one project, you have to be from the same school. Okay? Now, most of you have already started this process, working on your project idea. So this is where you start with your Expo project, right? You're thinking of an idea. Once you have that idea, you research the topic, you research the idea, you write up your research plan. Once your research plan is approved at step 3, approved by the teacher or your mentor, then you go on to step 4, where you're now going to conduct your research. Okay, you're going to do your study. Step 5 is you collecting data, you're recording, you're analyzing your data, you're doing that in your journal. And step 6 is where you conclude your project, you finish your project, you write up your report, abstract, and poster. So this is the complete process of the expo. Just a quick one for those who don't know and it's their first time joining an expo workshop. Where would you get a project idea from? Those that already have project ideas, can you tell us, where did you get your project idea from? You can just unmute quickly and just tell us, or help the others that are still looking for project ideas. Tell us where you got your project
Uh,
from. Yes, go ahead.
so my name is Ngobese.
Yes.
Came up with the project because I was observing on the news, asking people what they face, and then I got an idea.
So what's your project idea?
My project's idea is like tracking missing people in the ocean.
Oh, so tracking people. Okay, so you got your idea from something you watched on TV in the news. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes.
Hello. Yes,
Tell us where you got your idea from.
I got I got my project idea by looking based to my area. And I see that in my area there is a lot of waste that's needed to be collected.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I plan to I plan to create an robot that will help with the waste.
Okay. So that's,
Yes.
you got your project idea from your community. Okay. So for learners that don't have a
Yes.
project idea, yes. So these ideas come from when you ask these questions. Can you see the little boy is asking a question? He's thinking about why, how, why is something happening like this, right? This is where the ideas come from. And in this slide, it's just an example of different projects. So it doesn't have to be a problem that you're trying to solve. It could be you just wanting to find more information, right? You want to improve your skills, you want to learn new things, or you want to create something new, something that maybe you're interested in.
Dr. Nalini,
Yes.
can we just ask the learners to mute their microphones? Learners, can you please mute your microphones?
You can put a message in the chat or a comment, even if you want to say something, you want to tell us your project idea, you put it in the chat. Okay, we'll pick it up from there. Okay. Okay, so that's basically what this slide is all about. It's you want to make an impact, projects that allow you to have a positive impact towards others. Then there's other projects that allow you to identify problems and design new solutions or maybe improve on existing solutions, right? Or here, you following your talent, your hobbies. Maybe you're interested in sport. You want to look at, you're a gold scorer for netball. You want to find out where is the best position for you to stand as a goal scorer to score the most number of successful goals. So the project can be anything. And we don't give you the project idea. That is entirely up to you, right? Where you find the project idea. Remember, it's something that interests you. It's a problem that you want to solve, you want to find a solution to, or you just want to learn more about something. Now, this is the basic timeline for preparation, right? Term 1, you're supposed to have started researching your topic, drawing your research plan, planning your project, basically. And now in term 2, as you're preparing for the district expos, which are going to start taking place soon, you're now finalizing your research plan. Some of you may be starting to collect your data or hand out your questionnaires if you're doing a social science study, or build your prototype if you are doing an engineering project. If you're doing an experiment, a scientific investigation, you're conducting your experiment. So this is now in term 2 as we're preparing for the District Expo. And then from there, in term 3, those that are selected from the District Expos will participate at the regionals, right? So this is where we're at now. Just a reminder, very important, these types of project, the 4 types of projects. And also to remind you that you must register for the District Expo. There is a link for all the learners in KZN. It's one link for you to register and select the District Expo venue that you want to participate at. Remember, you select the venue that is closest to your school. Okay? Even if your school is in another area, you're in Greytown, your school is closer to Durban or Pietermaritzburg, you participate, regional expos like that. Okay? 4 types of projects. We have the scientific investigation. Remember, you're testing a hypothesis, right? You're doing an experiment to test a hypothesis. Then we have the engineering type of project. You're building something, social science, you're analyzing human behavior, and mathematics, which is a study of pure maths concepts. So this project, this type of project here is a scientific investigation. Okay, perhaps I should ask you, how do we know this is a scientific investigation? Anyone? How do you know this is a scientific investigation?
Because there's an experiment taking place, so ma'am.
Right, there's an experiment that's taking place. Right, great. So when you're doing experiments, it's a scientific investigation. Your social science, okay, let me not jump to that one yet. Okay, so what type of project is this now? What type of project is this?
It is the engineering. or computer science
Computer
projects.
science, right? Engineering or computer science. Remember, you're following the design process. You're building something. And then this project is what type? Social sciences, right? Social sciences, because people, we're focusing on collecting information from people. And then the last one, this is
Mathematics.
mathematics, right? Or theoretical. Okay?
And theoretical.
Yes, thank you. It's very important that you select the right type of project. Now, I want to just say this. These types of projects, you don't indicate the types of project in your registration form, right? When you're filling in that Google link, they're asking you for the category and they're asking you for the subcategory. So when you're selecting the category, you're going to select from this page, the 13 categories. So it's going to be one of the 13, and your subcategory is one of the bullet points below the categories. Okay? Just remember that. Now, the 4 types of projects that we spoke about can be done in any of these 13 categories. That's what this slide is about. Okay? So this slide is saying that in animal science even, we can have a social science project or an engineering project, computer science, any type of project, okay? What's been happening in the past when we ask learners for the category of the project, they give us the type of project, okay? Just remember, the category is one of the 13, okay? So just, there's the difference between the types of projects and the categories, okay? The type of project tells you the method. Number one, very important. It's the method. Make sure you are using the right project, the template. It determines the template that you're going to be using because each type of project has its own template. And the judges use a separate assessment sheet for each type of project at the regional science fair. And the type of project is very crucial for you when it comes to testing your solution, right? The categories is there for judging. It's there to tell you where to set up your project. It's there to help you narrow the focus down for your project. And so, for example, if you're doing a project under biomedical science, then we need to see something about biomedical science in your project, right? So that's what the 13 categories are about. Remember the scientific method. This is the scientific method. You're going to follow this method when you are doing social science type of project, a scientific investigation, and a mathematics type of project, where you have a research question, hypothesis, conduct your experiment, or collect data from people, and so on. And then you indicate as your conclusion whether your hypothesis is supported or not supported, right? So the focus of the scientific method is experimenting to test the hypothesis. Okay? When it comes to engineering projects, the focus is on this design process. Now, you know this if you've done technology at school. I think you start technology in grade 4 and you probably learned this from grade 4, right? Investigate, design, make, evaluate, communicate. This is the same for us as the engineering project. How many of you, who's doing an engineering project? Okay, let's go back here. Who wants to tell us say again?
I'm doing engineering project.
Okay, what are you building?
I'm building a DIY smart watch.
Okay, that's the security one.
Yes,
Okay.
me
So,
too. I'm doing an engineering project.
okay, so we will be discussing all the types of projects, right? So you need to make notes when we talk about your specific type of project. Is anyone doing a scientific? Who's doing a scientific investigation? Who's doing a scientific investigation?
I'm doing a scientific investigation.
Okay, you want to tell us what experiment you're doing? What experiment are you conducting? What experiment? Remember, you're doing an experiment in a scientific investigation. Anyone?
Me, ma'am.
Yeah, what experiment?
So basically, we're testing if games are good to use in the classroom.
Okay, so that's a social science type of project, but you're following the scientific method, right? Good.
Yes.
Got it. Right, so just remember in the engineering project at school, when you did technology, you write a design brief, right? But for us, it's called an engineering goal. We have design criteria here when we're designing, right? In school, you call them constraints and specifications. So just keep these terminology in mind, and we're going to discuss it a little bit more. Okay? So for those of you that don't have a project idea as yet, take anything, take a word even, take a picture, look at it, ask a question. Why, what, when, how, right? How is this bridge flooding? Why is there so much of traffic? What is the boy looking at? Or why are there potholes? How many potholes are there? What if, what would happen to animals? Like any picture. Just ask these questions. There you go. You've got your project idea. Now let's look at this one. So this little activity here is going to help you to make sure that you are following the right method for your type of project. So your research question determines, I've just taken this one picture of the river that's polluted. Your research question helps to determine what you do, the method that you follow, right? So let's take the first one. Why is there so much of litter at this river? Right? Why is there? Now, to answer this question, what type of project could I do? I want to know, why is there so much of litter? What type? Remember, there's four types of projects. Social
Sorry.
science, scientific. Yes, sorry, someone's talking. Go ahead.
You can do
Yeah.
this project.
I didn't hear that.
You can do a social sciences project.
Right. So for number one, for that question, why?
Sorry.
Yes.
To answer this question, I think it's earth scientists.
Now we're talking about the type of project, not the category, right? Remember, the categories are the one is 13 categories. When I say the word type of project, there's only 4 types. Okay? Type of,
Yes,
Okay.
how many types of
I
projects
think
do we have?
four
Four
How
projects.
many categories do we have?
13.
13 category.
Right, now you got it. So you can always give me your name and then respond, right? So the first
Okay.
question, for example, why is there so much of litter? We can do a social science project where we're going to ask people living in this community around the river why there is so much of litter. Okay, then let's take another one. What type of litter is being dumped at this river? What type of project can I do? What type of litter is being dumped at this river? So what type of project could I do here?
Siyabonga bese, may I please answer?
Yes?
I think it's water pollution.
Yeah, the picture is about water pollution, but remember the 4 types of projects now. Which type of project? For number 4, to find out what type of litter is being dumped. What type of project?
Social science.
Hmm?
Social science projects.
Anyone else?
Yes,
Can
yes, I'm Snobile Ngala. Can I answer?
Yes. Let's hear you.
I think it is an engineering.
Yes.
Find out what type of litter. Okay.
It's a
Can I
management.
answer specific
Water
sound?
pollution.
Remember, there's only 4 types of projects, right? Is it a
You could
scientific
do it.
investigation? Could you do a scientific investigation, an experiment?
Yes.
Hello, can I answer? My name is Khalifa. Can I answer?
Yes.
It is a social science category.
Social science. Okay.
Yes.
Is there anyone that thinks they can do a scientific investigation
Yes, there is.
for number 4?
For number 2.
For number 2, a scientific investigation, right? And number 4. So in order to do this as a scientific investigation to find out what type of litter, it means we'll have to collect the litter and separate the litter into the different types, right? So that's an experiment that you would be doing. You got it? You understand?
Yes.
So do you see?
Yes.
Like, let's take number 3.
Yes.
What can be done? What can be done about the litter problem? What type of project could you do there? Could you do an engineering type of project?
Yes.
You could,
Siyabonga
right?
bese answering.
Yes.
Yes, it will be engineering.
Yes, then it will be engineering. Maybe you want to design a structure or
Or like a drone.
a drone, yes, or something. Maybe
Mhm.
a boat with a net that can collect all the litter, right? So can you see how the
Mobile and
question? Yes, go
Can
ahead.
I think you must create a robot that can be able to collect the
Litter.
the waste.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
this activity,
Sorry, sorry to
I
interrupt.
okay,
My name is Siyabonga bese. I'll be answering the question.
right.
Last year I was doing earth sciences and it was water pollution. So I decided to design a drone that can collect all the waste inside the water.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. So you're continuing to work on that project.
Now I've changed it
Oh,
because I got bronze on.
okay. So why don't you work on the project and fix it? What are you building this year?
Can you please repeat the question?
What are you going to build this year?
This year
Hello?
I'm going to this year, this year I'll be working
Hello?
on tracking missing people.
Also, you're
This year
doing
I'll be working on tracking missing people on the ocean.
okay. Okay. Yes, you did tell
Hello?
me already.
And
Okay.
Nalini, there is
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Govender.
Yes.
Mr. Govender, go ahead. You were saying something?
yeah.
Hello?
Sorry, learners, can we please mute our microphones because it's causing a disturbance where others cannot hear. Please, if you want to ask a question, maybe raise your hand. Use the emoji to raise your hand, and I'll give you an opportunity to Nalini to respond. Please.
Okay.
All right.
Put your question in the chat. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me continue. Yeah. So put your questions in the chat, and then we can address it at the end. So remember, you're planning your project. You at this research plan stage. Some of you are still thinking about your project idea. Now remember, your project idea must be smart. It must be S specific, M measurable. There must be something that you are measuring. So whether you're building a drone to collect litter, what are you going to measure about that drone? How will you measure it? What instruments will you use to measure? If you are, for example, collecting all the litter from that river to see what kind of litter people are throwing there, think about what are you going to measure? any project that you are doing, if you are not measuring some quantity, then there's going to be a problem. It's not an investigation, right? So this is very, very important for you to go through this process. A, attainable, and are realistic. Is your project idea realistic? Can you design this device that you want to? Do you have the resources? You want to do something in coding. Do you know how to do coding? So ask yourself all these questions before you continue with your project. Time frames are also very important, right? Because for the District Expo, you must have started your project. Your research plan must be completed. Now, if you can't finish your research plan by the time of the District Expo, then you're going to have a problem, right? So be very mindful of these points, these smart points, when you are selecting your project idea. Once you've got that project idea, remember you need to go and research that idea. Okay, you what we call the literature review. You need to look for solutions to make sure that you are doing the right type of project. Okay. You need to read as much as you can about the topic that you want to investigate. And this will help you to understand more, perhaps find a solution. Also, you need to explain the concepts, scientific concept, litter. What is litter? Right? What is pollution? What does that mean? Explain that word. Okay? So all of these things must be explained in your project. Right, let's go. And then while you're doing all of that, you need to ensure you're checking the learner ethics checklist, all right, for any ethics violations. Very important because we do not want anyone to come to the expo with issues about ethics violations. So this is going to be a challenge for you, right? And you could stand a chance of not having your project selected. Tando, you are writing on the screen. Please stop doing that. Okay. So in terms of ethics now, when you're working on your project, whether it's a scientific investigation, whether it is a social science project, whether it is an engineering project, you've got to go through this process of checking for any ethics violations. And the ethics violations, the ethics checklist is arranged according to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 aspects. Legal implications, human testing, animal testing, health and safety, and plagiarism, right? Remember, plagiarism is copying. It's about you copying without acknowledging the source. So your legal implications deals with breaking of the country's laws. So whether you're working with plants or people, we don't expect you to break any of the country's laws, right? You want to investigate about drugs and then you go and get samples of drugs. So just be mindful, right? So watch out for that one. That's not allowed, right? Human testing, all of these things are not allowed. Ingesting, getting people to ingest, to touch, to apply, to smell substances, asking people to undergo physical stress tests. Okay, so all these things are not allowed. You want to see what happens when someone takes medication and then not take medication. You can't do that study, right? So this checklist is very, very important for you to go through. Animal testing. You're not allowed to take animals out of the habitat. You're not allowed to experiment on animals. You can't test your prototype on animals. So if you want to build a dog feeder and you want to see whether it'll work, you cannot test an actual dog on it. Okay. And then we've got artificial intelligence. Lots of you are using AI. I think I missed something happened here. Okay, there seems to be a problem here. Let's go back here. Let's go back to the slide. Right. So we're looking at health and safety as well. Remember, you can't endanger your own health. or someone else's, your project has to be safe. If you are working with dangerous chemicals or bacteria, we need to know how you're going to ensure your own safety, right? So just make sure you check through that list. And again, plagiarism, copying of your idea or someone else's idea is not allowed without acknowledging the source. Now, most of you are using AI. You got the meta thingy on WhatsApp. You've got ChatGPT. You using it to collect information. But remember, if you don't acknowledge the source and if you don't indicate how you've used the source, the AI, then it can become an ethics violation. So just be careful of that. Maybe you want to use AI to reword your sentence and improve it. Make sure you indicate that under your acknowledgements. What was the AI used for? Right? Now, at the expo, there's two stages that the ethics check is done. First stage is the learner ethics checklist, where you are checking you're with your teacher or your mentor, even if your mentor is your parent. You go through the self checklist when you're doing your research plan. Then the judges will go through that at the District Expo and at the Regional Expo. Now, depending on the severity of the transgression, at the Regional Expo, you can be disqualified. Okay, so bear that in mind. At the District Expo, we will bring to your attention if we spot any ethics violations. But at the regionals, you'll be in trouble. Now, let's see if you can identify what is the ethics violations in these pictures, right? If you look at the first picture, the learner is conducting research on perhaps he took a picture of people using drugs. Okay, so even a picture of this sort shouldn't be in your project, right? So just bear that in mind in terms of the type of pictures that you're using. Also, in terms of the type of research you want to conduct. You shouldn't be going in and conducting research where you've got people that are taking drugs or crime and so on, right? So this will be an ethics violation. Then there's another one here, the middle picture. Okay. Here we have a learner who is examining the subject, right? And there's a photo. And as you can see now, the face has been covered. But the first picture, the face has not been covered. So this is also a violation because learners cannot examine people, right? That must be done by a medical professional. Let's look at the third picture. Why you shouldn't let your pet pet lick your face. Let's do that one again. Why you shouldn't let your pet lick your face. So you got to be careful with this one. How is the samples and so on being collected? Here, the learner is probably using their own dog, right, to collect samples. Working with bacteria again. These are things that are not allowed in Expo, right? And this is what the learner ethics checklist looks like. It's on our website. I'll just show you just now as soon as we're done with this slot. It's on our website and you can see some of the violations here. This is page 1. Remember, you're going to put your name, your school name on this page, your region, grade, and so on. And if there's any violations that you pick up, if there's an X, a cross at any one of these on this document, right, then you need to send us your completed research plan to kznethics@gmail, where we will advise you further what to do with your project. Is everybody clear with that? Right? So if there's anything you're not sure about, we even mention here brand names right at the bottom. Remember, you can't mention the brand, the name of the brand, even your computer science project, right? your engineering projects. Don't tell us you're using ever-ready batteries. You cannot give the brand names. Okay. Now, Mpumelelo, you are drawing on the screen. Please stop that. Okay. Now we're going straight into the research plan. Okay. You've finished planning, you've discussed, you've checked the learner checklist. You write up the research plan, make sure you're using the right one. Carry out your research, collect your data, and at the end, you write up the project report, abstract, and poster. I don't think there's anyone that's ready now with a completed project, right?
It's me.
You are finished with your study.
Yes.
Okay, so you're ready to write up all the documents at the end. Okay?
Yes.
Has your teacher approved your research plan?
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic. So now at the District Expo, it means you're going to present a completed project. This is what the District Expo looks like. The learners are presenting, there's the judges on the other side listening to the projects, and of course, you're going to get certificates. Do not worry about the poster. We don't need the poster for the District Expo. What we do need,
No.
look at this list of what is required, the minimum requirement, right? If you're still working on your project, you haven't completed your project, then at the District Expo, you're going to present your journal. You're going to present a data file if you've collected research or you've handed out questionnaires already, right? So you're going to have number one. Number two, you're going to have that completed research plan signed by the teacher. The research plan doesn't have to be typed, but it must be written neatly, and the teacher must sign it or the mentor. Number three, you need the learner ethics checklist. Number four, you need evidence of your prototype. You need evidence of your experiment. If you're in the process of building the prototype, bring the prototype to the District Expo. Take photos of your experiment if you've finished or you're working on your experiment. Take photos to show us. And remember, while you're collecting data, you're writing in your journal. The only time we will see your report and the abstract is if your project is finished. Okay? We need number 5, the plagiarism declaration, and then, of course, is the interviews. Just to remind you about the journal, remember we must see dates. There must be a date and what you've done for that, for your project, right? And then the data file, you can have one, but if you don't, you didn't need one, that's fine. Then make sure, again, the right type of research plan you're using, because the method and so on is different. There's a few exceptions in terms of the heading, and you'll have this completed checklist on the table. But if you had a cross and you sent it to us at ethics, we will respond to you and give you a letter as to what to do. If you have that letter, you must also present that at the District Expo. Okay? And this is the plagiarism form that you need. All right. Now let's look at the headings. Okay? Where's the similarities and differences? You see on the one side in the yellow, you've got scientific investigation, social science, mathematics. And on the other side, you've got the engineering, right? There's your engineering project here. Let's go back, sorry. Now you can see the headings are the same. Problem statement, all 4 types of projects has a problem statement, a short paragraph, literature review, all projects. Aim for your scientific investigations. You can write a need for the engineering project, or you can have a name. It's fine. All projects will have a research question, all 4 types of projects. Hypothesis and variables is for scientific, social, and mathematics. Design goal, design criteria is for engineering, and also the preliminary design is for engineering. All projects have method, materials, and so on. Data analysis, all projects, ethics and safety, all projects, and references is all projects, right? Now, I did say to you that when the judges are interviewing you, they're going to give comments. So this is what the the District Expo selector is going to give you to take back to help you to improve your project. Now, there's your 4 types of projects: scientific, social, mathematics, engineering. Go through this very carefully because it tells you exactly what the judge is looking for at the District Expo under each heading, right? So if you look at number 1, do you have relevant literature? Is it adequate? Did you cite in-text referencing? Or did you uh, just write your own thoughts? Okay, so just be careful with that one. Now, here in the methods section, very, very important. Let's go back. Remember, first column is scientific investigation. Second column is social science. Third column is mathematics and engineering and computer science. End. So look at the method. For the scientific investigation, we need to see more than one trial of your test, right? We need to see more than one trial of your test for scientific investigation. For your social science project, learners, I'm going to just remind you to keep yourself muted, please. For your social science project, look at 5, row 5. We're talking about the sample size. How did you select the sample size? Look at number 6. What measures did you have to get consent? Did you send out the questionnaires with the consent form? Do you have a letter from the principal? All of that, okay? That's what we're going to look for at the District Expo. We're going to look for variables. Look at the last column for engineering projects, right? We're going to look for the design criteria. We're going to look for the drawing and how you're planning to test the prototype. Okay, and then for those completed projects, we're going to review your results. Even if you've got results in the journal, they will review it and try and look for number 10, row 10, literature. Find literature to support your findings. And then there's the written work, poster. As you can see, number 16, we're looking at the journal. We will be reviewing the journal. We will look at, is your project new and original? Okay. Then the district selectors here will score the project. Those projects that get 60 and over can be selected. I'm not saying will be selected. 60 and over, you have a chance of being selected, right? So just be mindful of that. You need to have all of these things in your project. Also, the display safety. This is also on our website. Go through this because it also tells you what you need to have and or not have. We don't want to see wires exposed or flammable substances in your project. Now, there's some of you here that are finished, so we will see your report and abstract at the District Expo. Okay, and all of this information is on the website. Okay, so just to show you here the comparison between the research plan and the report. Research plan, remember it's written in future tense because you haven't done the project. And remember you're writing in the third person, so don't use the words like I want to find out, or we will conduct an investigation. So it's a third person. You don't use the pronouns. Here in the report, you can see there's slight differences from results onwards. Okay. Under data analysis in the research plan, you're going to tell us what data you're going to collect. Okay. Now here we're talking about recording your data. Please take photos, take videos, testing of your prototype. It's best to take a video of how you tested your prototype because on the day something happens, maybe the prototype breaks or your battery runs dead. Safest thing to have is a video and some photos. Remember to keep all of it in your journal. just a comparison again of how you're collecting data for your different types of projects. So be mindful of this, okay? When you're setting out your questionnaires for social science, your questions must be very specific to what you want to find out. Do not ask unnecessary questions. That's going to make, because you want to have a lot of questions, don't do that. Just keep your questions short, to the point. If you only have 2 questions, it's fine, as long as you're collecting your research question is answered. Okay? And this is where you will find all the resources on our website and under resources. Okay, there's a guidebook there. And here is some YouTube videos, things like that. You can scan this QR code. Now you can actually scan this QR code now, and you will be able to download all the resources, the guidebooks and all that sort of thing. Okay, so I'll just give you a few seconds if you want to scan the code at the moment. Okay, or just go straight to our website and get the download the projects, right? This is my contact number for your teacher. Please get your teacher to get in touch with me if your school has not registered as yet, right? As a learner, there is a link for you to register for the District Expo. We also have a link for the teacher to register the school. Okay. So, do we have any questions so far on what, Mr. Governor? Any questions now before I go into the actual research plan?
Yeah, there's been a number of questions on the chat, but I've responded to almost all of them.
Okay, great.
As they come in, I'll respond more. All right.
Okay. Thank you. So we can continue to the next part of the...
Sorry, ma'am.
Yes? Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, ma'am. I've got one question this side. Yes, I've
Okay.
been trying to enroll my learners or maybe register my learners online today, but the websites could not let me through. I tried so many times. I don't know if there was technical glitches or what.
Okay. You know what? We don't want learners to register on the website for the District Expo. There is a link to a Google form. What school are you at? What school are you at, teacher?
I'm at Bergville Primary School, ma'am.
Okay, you need to
Bergville Primary.
You need to send me a
Bergville
WhatsApp.
Primary.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for Bergville Primary. You need to send me a WhatsApp so that I can
Hello,
send you the
Nalini.
link. Yes.
It's Nasira.
Okay, ma'am.
Oh, yes, hi, Nasira. Go ahead.
How are you?
Okay.
Simply, Mr. Nene from Bergville. The website link is on our chat.
Yes,
On the
ma'am. That's me. Yes, ma'am.
yes. It is on our chat group. Did you check it on our teachers?
Okay.
Just check.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Nalin.
I'll just
Hi.
try and double check. Probably I
Okay.
followed the wrong link. Okay, not a problem.
Okay, no problem. I'll send it
Thank
to you.
you.
Okay, go
Hi,
ahead.
Nalin.
Yes,
Hi,
hello.
Nalin. Thank you for such an outstanding presentation. I've got 2 questions for my learners. The other one has developed an innovative method for multiplication using a computer app. So she was kind of confused that the project, does it fall under maths, research plan, or computer science, because it integrates both.
Okay. Let's go to the website. Okay.
And then the second question
I'll share my screen.
that my learner said I must ask for her. My other learner, she designed a vertical structure to promote greenery and wildlife habitat, and also incorporated solar panels for irrigation system, and also for shades. So she wanted to know whether, because her project is it's integrate both agriculture and engineering. So she wanted to know whether she has to design the vertical structure, incorporate the renewable energy, which is solar panel, take pictures, or she can just bring the whole thing, the vertical structure, with plants and together with solar panel, or she can just take pictures. Those are the two questions that I have.
Okay. So I'll do the
Yes.
second question first. She will not be able to bring the actual plants because if
Yes.
you look at our website, so I'm just going to, learners can follow me here to the website, Eskom Expo for Young Scientists. And there's our resources. Select resources. Okay. We want to go to, I was doing your second question, right? Documents for science fair. And here is the approval form. I'm just going to open it online so you can quickly see it. And you'll see here that living 2.5 living organisms are not allowed, right? So they cannot bring plants to the,
Okay.
so she can take pictures of the
Take
structure that
pictures.
is created.
Okay.
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 That's where you
Thank
find
you.
that project display. Learners that are here, this is where you're going to find your plagiarism declaration, learner ethics checklist, right? Documents for science fair. I hope you were paying attention to that one. There's your learner ethics checklist, and you can click download and select it and get it from there, right? I just want to show you the template quickly. Templates now, there's your research plan if you don't know where to find it. And the research plan is in Word format, which means that you could actually, I need to go to my downloads folder. You can actually start typing in it. Once you download it, remember you can work in your journal, and when you're ready for your teachers approved your research plan, then you can go in and get it typed out, right? Let me just quickly show you that research plan. It's going to share again. I should just share my screen. Let me just share my screen and then take you to the research plan. You should be seeing the research plan, right? Remember, you're going to delete all of this, right? You're going to delete all this information that doesn't apply to you. Even if scientific investigation doesn't apply to you, you're going to delete it. Okay? And all of these blue heading, this is a heading. Okay? So remember, you're going to write information. These are all headings. It's telling you what to do. Under literature review, there's 4 things that you need to do. All of these questions needs to be answered. Okay? So this is what the research plan. Make sure the research plan, all of these headings are covered adequately. Okay? And you can see the teacher needs to sign. Right? Okay. Someone's still drawing. I just want to go back to the website. I'm hoping you're seeing the website now. Are you seeing the website? To answer Pinky's question, I want to go to the category list. Okay, there's a category list, right? So just to figure out whether there's descriptions here, you can see below each, there's descriptions. So her learner is not sure. Pinky, you said your learner is not sure between computer science and
Yes,
mathematics.
she has come with an easy way to do multiplication, but the solution, she's going to design a computer app. So now she's confused whether it falls under mathematics research or computer science.
Right.
Yes.
Can you see this clearly under computer science? Can you see the bullets?
Yes.
Data
Yes.
management, data
Yes.
sciences, networking,
Yes.
software systems.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
any of these applies to her project, if any
Yes.
of these, then
Yes.
she must select computer science and software development. Right?
Okay.
Is that clear? Let's go
Yes.
to the mathematics and see what we have under mathematics. Mathematics. Right? You got algebra, geometry, game theory. Okay?
Yes.
The learner has to see, because remember, within the mathematics category, the learner can do an engineering type of project or a computer science type,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Yes.
she needs to decide which subcategory is most applicable.
Applicable. Okay.
Most applicable.
Okay. No, thank you so much, Nalini.
Right? I hope that helps you.
Yeah, it helps very much. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So even while we're here, I just want to show learners the referencing guide, because we will be talking about referencing, in-text referencing, and so on. Please use the guide. Download it. If you click these three dots, you can download this document. There's in-text referencing. There's your reference list. Okay? So I just want to stop sharing that now, and let's go to the next part. Actual writing of the research plan. Let's go to that one. So now we will be discussing, I will be giving you some tips, right, on how to write the different headings, what to do, what not to do. Okay? That's what we're going to cover in this section.
Ma'am?
About the introduction, literature review, yes?
Ma'am?
Yes. Go ahead.
If you are making an eco-friendly school, what would it fall under?
An eco-friendly school. What is
Yes.
the problem that you are trying to solve? Why do you build an eco-friendly school?
Because
You're not sure yet.
yes, I'm not that sure yet.
Okay. So, there's a big difference between a prototype and a model. A prototype must be working for an engineering project. That thing, whatever that you build, Siyabonga, please stop writing on the screen. If you're building something, that is called a prototype only when it is doing something. It's moving, right? If it's not moving, if it's not doing anything, then it's just a model. Now, we don't want models for the expo. We want prototypes that are working, that are doing something. So just be mindful if you're selecting an engineering project, whatever you're building, it must be doing something. I don't know if that helps. So just building something to show, to demonstrate how electricity is produced in Eskom, just showing us a model. It's not going to be a good
Yes, Miss,
project.
ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, I was asking about, as I'm planning to create a robot, is it the size must be big or small, or it doesn't matter?
No. It does matter. The size of your prototype does matter. It must be small enough to fit on the table, and it must also not be too big to cover all of your work on the table. Prototypes will not be allowed to stand on the floor. It must fit on the table. There is a guide on our website. You can go and have a look. I'll show you a bit later on some pictures of what a prototype would look like. So there is a size restriction on the prototype. Okay. Remember, the
Okay,
prototype
thank you very much.
is okay. The prototype you're building to show us whether the concept is going to work. And it's going to be built to scale. You're not going to build the actual size, right? Okay, so we're looking at the heading called the introduction in your research plan. Um, Please do not write your conclusion in the introduction. Don't write what you're actually going to build. Don't tell us what prototype you're building in the introduction. Okay? Just
Sorry,
briefly,
ma'am. I would
yes,
like to just ask you one more question.
right.
I was with my eco-friendly school. Does it fall under engineering?
If you're building something, then it's engineering. Okay? If
Yes.
you're building, did you download the category list from the website?
Yes.
Okay, then you need to go through that category list to see where your project will fit in. Okay,
Yeah.
you must go through the subcategories. Under engineering, go through the subcategories to see if it fits under engineering. Okay, because remember, there's a difference between the type of project and the category. All right,
Thank you,
so,
ma'am.
okay, back to the introduction. The introduction is just one or two paragraphs, not an entire page, right? The introduction section is made up of different headings. You have the introduction where you are setting the scene for the problem, right? Then you go on to your literature review. That's the next heading after introduction. Literature review can be a whole page. Remember, I showed you in the template, I showed you there were 5 aspects that needs to be covered under literature review. So make sure you cover all of those aspects. You're going to explain concepts. You're going to tell us what you've read about the topic. What did other researchers say about your topic that you're investigating? About hydroponics, if you're growing plants vertically without soil, right? Things like that. Okay. When you're collecting information for the literature review, it's important that you look at websites, books, internet sites, news articles, right? Remember, you need to present facts. So even if you say something, you say water is an important resource, right? There should be someone else backed up by literature. Who else said that? That water is an important resource. Okay? So that's what we're talking here in the literature review. You're supporting everything that you're saying from other scientists. Now, how you organize this literature review is you start off with your broad concepts, use the funnel method, define the concepts that you are using, whatever concept. You're talking about photosynthesis. Explain what is photosynthesis. Explain whatever processes that you are using. Okay? Start with that. Then tell us what research has already been done. Then go on and tell us what new knowledge are you going to create? And lastly, tell us who's going to benefit from your research, right? So that's how you organize your literature review. Talk about all these different aspects using paragraphs, okay? Searching for information, you can put your research question into that search bar. And try and use a site like Google Scholar rather than YouTube and Wikipedia. okay, for your literature review. Take a picture of the link or write the link down in your journal when you are doing your literature review, because go back in a month's time, you might not find that reference there. So it's important that you create a reference page in your journal or on your laptop or wherever, but you must keep one. Okay? Now, when you're doing referencing, remember in the research plan, we saw a heading called referencing. Okay? When do we need to reference? It's important that even an idea, if you took an idea from YouTube, you saw an experiment done maybe in the textbook. So it's not your idea, but you modified the idea, you changed the variables, you did something different. You have to give the reference for that idea, right? Also, not only information, but also pictures, tables, figures, diagrams. Any picture that you take from another source, you must reference that. Okay? You reference it immediately below the picture and in your reference page. Now, there's two types of referencing. If you want to score a good mark for your project, you must use in-text referencing. So in-text referencing, there's an example here. We use in-text referencing when we're giving direct quotes from someone, right? Or if we are paraphrasing what someone is saying. So here, referencing is essential for academic writing. That is the actual words taken. The next one, what is a basic necessity, that maybe is paraphrased, right? So that is what in-text referencing. It's just giving the author's first name, like Maluleka, and the year. Okay? And you can also give the page number. Paraphrasing, remember you have to paraphrase. You can't just take information straight from the internet and put it into your work. You have to paraphrase, meaning put it into your own words. Otherwise, you'd be guilty of plagiarism, right? Now, there's also the reference list. In your research plan, you got the heading references right at the bottom, right? So that's your reference list or your bibliography, if you want to call it that, which is found at the end of your research plan. It's at the end of your report. It's the full citation of the author, details of the author. So in the intake reference, you only put the author's surname and the year. In the reference list, you're going to put all the information. And there's two examples for a website and a book, right? That is just being shown there. Now, remember for Expo, we use the Harvard referencing. But if you don't want to use the Harvard, although we prefer it, stick to the same reference style throughout your whole project. Don't start using Harvard and then go to APA. Keep the same referencing style throughout, okay? Oh, just going back here. If you're using internet referencing, you see the date. There's a date. There's a website, a link to the website. There's the date at which you access that link. So this is what we want to see when you're using websites. Okay, it's very important because maybe as a judge, when I go back there, I might not find that reference, right? Because you might have searched for it months ago. Okay, any questions so far on those two sections? Because those two sections apply to all projects, all types of projects. No questions. Can I move on to the next section?
Yes.
Okay, let's go on to the next section.
Yes.
Right, so you
Sorry,
should
ma'am.
now know how to write your introduction and know how to write your literature review.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, may I ask a question?
Yes.
My topic is tracking missing people in the ocean. May I ask which subcategory does it fall in?
Okay, we'll Put that question on the chat. Type it on the chat. I want to know if, please ask your questions based on the section that I am doing. If you have any other question, please put it in the chat. Mr. Governor will answer your question. Okay? For now, if you have questions based on the content that I've just explained, then please raise your hand, okay? Because others are going to lose track of what we're discussing. Now, we've done the introduction. We spoke about literature review for the research plan, right? Okay. Now we're going to move on to writing the aim.
So, ma'am.
Do you have a question based on what we're discussing?
No, I have my own question.
What is the question?
Can I ask if you are doing some research related to a disease and you want to make a new medication for it? What does the project fall under?
You need to check the learner ethics checklist, because remember, how are you going to test that medication? You cannot test it on people.
Yes.
You have to have a scientific method. That would be a biomedical.
Yes.
Again, I'm going to say this, learners. If you have questions to do with categories, types of projects, put it in the chat. Mr. Governor will answer your question. We have now moved on to the research plan. So I'm only going to answer questions based on the research plan itself. Okay. Put your question in the chat. Keep yourself muted, please, learners. We have other committee members that can answer your questions. There's lots of district coordinators, experienced judges that are on the session. So put your questions in the chat. They will answer you, right? You know what's going to happen? We're going to have to eventually remove children that are unmuting themselves. We'll have to just remove you and put you into a waiting room till we are done. So please keep yourself muted. Okay? Right. We're going on to now the next section in your research plan. Right? Again, I'm going to give you some tips on how to write that up. Okay? So remember, this is what is going to be covered in this this presentation. How to write it, what information goes under each of these headings, aim, research, question, hypothesis, and variables, or engineering goal and design criteria. Okay? Right. The hypothesis, remember, is the prediction, and it's a prediction that is based on some kind of knowledge. You're going to have a hypothesis and variables in a scientific investigation or a social science project or a mathematics project, right? The variable, on the other hand, is a factor that can be changed or is changed over time, right? So a variable shows the relationship between factors. That's your variable. Now, in order for a test to be fair, we advise you for your scientific investigations to change one variable at a time. So here, an example here, we're looking at the dissolving rate, right? We're looking at temperature. If we increase the temperature, does the dissolving rate go faster or slower, right? So these are the factors that we call variables that we use in scientific investigations. The independent variable affects the dependent variable, right? The independent variable is that factor which you are going to change. That's the one you're manipulating as the researcher. What are you changing? The dependent variable is the one that you are measuring, the effect. You're going to measure what effect the independent variable had. And you can measure more than one variable. That's what you are measuring. Then with the controlled variable or fixed variable, right? These are the variables or factors that must be kept the same throughout the investigation. It doesn't change. Okay? So just bear this in mind. We have these three types of variables, and all of them must be indicated. Even in your hypothesis, you indicate the dependent and the independent variable. So this slide is just showing you the link, right? Your topic. Your aim is related to your topic. What specifically do you want to find out? It is a statement. The aim is not a paragraph. It is a statement. It must be measurable, right? The aim links you to the research question. So your research question is kind of like your aim written in the form of a question. We also don't want yes or no questions, yes or no answers, right? The research question must be measurable. The research question, again, is linked to the hypothesis, which must also be measurable, and includes variables. Variables must also be testable and measurable, right? And then you've got your three variables. The hypothesis, you can see this link, this golden thread. So variables run through your entire project, starting from your entire scientific investigation, from the hypothesis to the method, the results, discussion, and the conclusion, right? So at the end of your project, when you've finished, you're going to state whether you've accepted the hypothesis or rejected it based on the variables, based on the interaction of your variables in the results and the discussion section. So that's what all this is about, showing you how the variables are linked, right? So remember, we're still talking about scientific investigations here when we're talking about variables, right? Okay, we're actually now almost running out of time. Let's try and make this quick. So when you're writing your variables, you need to indicate the quantity and the unit of measurement. We need to see how the variables interacting with each other, right? So I'm just going to stop the slideshow here and go to presentation mode so I can write in this one. Okay? Now, here's the problem, right? Not all plants need the same amount of sunlight. We know plants need sunlight, but some plants need more sunlight than others. Some need less sunlight. So if you look at this picture on the side here, this is the experiment that we want to conduct. And this is the problem. We want to find out, right? We want to find out, I think this is, let's say this is radish plants. We want to find out how much of sunlight does radish plants, and I'm not sure if that is a radish or what plant that is, what amount of sunlight this plant needs to grow. So anyone want to take a guess and give me the aim? How will I write the aim? Remember, the aim is a statement that is testable. Who wants to give me an example of the aim? What do we want to find out in this project? To what? What do we want to find out? We want to investigate. Give me the aim. Or to determine. How much of sunlight right?
Can I
How much
please
of
answer?
sunlight? Okay.
The aim is how to find out how much sunlight plants need.
Okay. So here we're going to just take a guess and say this is a radish plant or spinach to determine how much of sunlight spinach plants
How much
need to grow.
to grow?
Right, so that's your aim. I forgot a heading here, research question. What could be the research question? What could be the research question? Remember, the research question is a question linked to the aim. So the research question could be, yes, what is it?
Can I please answer?
How much?
Why do plants such question?
Say again. How much
Ma'am,
of sunlight?
ma'am,
The research question would be, remember I gave you some keywords, how, what. So how much of sunlight does spinach?
ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am. The research question is that why do plants do not need the same amount of sunlight?
Okay, you could have that. Why do plants not need the same amount of sunlight? Okay, that's fine. As long as you're asking the question that is linked to your aim, right?
Yes.
But in this case, can you see I'm using the same word, how much there? And in my research question, I've also got how much. My answer here is not going to be yes or no, right? There's a quantity. How much is a quantity? Remember I said it must be measurable. Okay, so let's go to the hypothesis now and take a guess. How much of sunlight? So we're going to say plants need a lot of sunlight, a little bit of sunlight, full sunlight. What shall we say? Spinach plants need, shall we say, full sunlight?
Plants need lots of sunlight.
Full sunlight to grow well, right? Okay, now let's go to the variables. The independent variable. What are you changing? What are you going to be changing? You're changing the amount of sunlight. Okay, so you're going to be changing the amount of sunlight. Here, you'll say the amount of sunlight, where the sunlight will be full sunlight or partial sunlight. Okay, things like that. Okay, I'm hoping you're still with me, right? Now, the dependent variable, that's what we're changing. We're going to put the spinach pots in full sunlight. Then we're going to put the spinach pots in partial sunlight. And we can even try it in maybe no sunlight, away from sunlight, away from or no sunlight, right? Maybe it'll grow in the house. Okay? Can you see the quantity now? This is what I'm changing, the amount of sunlight. What am I going to measure? I'm going to measure. Remember, dependent is what we are measuring. The growth. Let's put that in red. We're going to measure maybe the height, of the plant in centimeters. Or we're going to also measure, we're going to maybe count the number of leaves. Okay. This is what we're going to measure. Controlled variable. What am I going to keep the same? Right? You're going to keep the amount of water the same. You're going to keep the same size pots. Okay? Things like that. So you'll need to think about all the variables. Same amount of soil, same type of soil, all of these things that must be kept the same. Okay. Okay, so I hope you've got that one. That's the variables. So now here, when you are writing up the variables in your report section, you put the y-axis, your dependent variable. So in this case, our dependent variable was the height of the plant. So you're going to have the height of the plant here on the y-axis. And then the independent variable was the amount of sunlight, which you're going to put here, the amount of sunlight on the x-axis. So you're going to have different graphs to show this, right? But when you're recording this in your journal, draw a table, because you might record, you might take the measurements 2 days, 3, or every second day, maybe once a week. So have a table first in your journal, and then you can convert that into a graph when you're writing up your report. Okay, so any questions so far about variables? Because now we're moving on to the engineering type of project. Everybody understands the variables. Remember, this is for scientific investigation and maybe social science. Social science, you're going to talk about your sample size, not so much variables. Okay, you're going to discuss the sample. Right, we're moving now on to engineering. So engineering, you can see aim is the same, research question. Now we got an engineering goal that's linked to the research question and the aim, and we got the design criteria. The engineering goal is the broad goal that you want to achieve with the project. What solution are you proposing? But the design criteria is the specific aspects of the prototype that you're going to be testing. You're going to build and you're going to test it. Okay? So the engineering goal is written in the introduction section of your report and your research plan. When you're writing the engineering goal, right? Again, it's like your hypothesis and so on. To do what? To build, to design, to develop, to improve. Avoid using these kind of vague statements of what you're going to do. To build a better machine, right? Because how do you assess that your machine is better? What criteria are you going to use? What is the measurable criteria? Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. All right, now let's go to the next. Let me go back to slideshow. Oh dear, I did not want to go back to. Let me share again. Let me go back to that presentation that I was at. Like I said, what I'm sharing with you is things that you need to apply to your own project, right? Although I'm just giving you general tips on what to do in your project, you need to apply it specifically to your project. And if you're still not sure, ask your teacher to help you, or you can send us the information and we can look into it to help you, right? Now, tell me, between A and B, which is a better or well-written engineering goal? A or B? Just put it in the chat. Just type in the chat whether you think
B.
A is a better engineering goal or whether you think B is a better engineering goal. Just type it in the chat. Right? Let's see. I heard some answers. Did someone say, I heard somebody say something. Did anyone put an answer in the chat? Oh, I see many learners are saying B.
Yes, lots of them.
Can anyone tell us why is B the better engineering goal? Why is B better? Anyone? Even teachers, you can tell us why you think B is better. A says to build a robot.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Yes, I think that B is better because B is more descriptive because it describes the objective that the project should achieve.
Okay. It's more descriptive, but let's go back. I want to go back to the previous slide. Remember we said with your engineering goal, you must include measurable criteria, things that you can measure, right? So good, you've picked that up. Here we can measure. You're saying that the robotic arm must be able to lift and move small objects, 500 grams. You're giving us a measurement. So I know if my robotic arm cannot move an object weighing 500 grams, then I know that my prototype has failed. Okay? So this is what we mean by measurable. You can see within 10 seconds, I know exactly how much of time this robotic arm must move. And if it doesn't move within 10 seconds, it means I have to improve the prototype. And that's how we go from one prototype to the next. With A, we don't know whether this robot has an arm or whether the whole robot is going to move the item. Okay, so there's more information given in B. Thank you for that. Good answer to all of you that got it right. Well done to you. Let me see if I can do a reaction. How do you do a reaction, Mr. Govender? Just give a clap to those that got the answers right. Okay, now the design criteria, right? So that was the engineering goal, which is your broad prototype that you want to build. Now, the design criteria, you describe it in the method. Engineering goal is in the introduction. Design criteria is part of the method. You test it in your result. You build it. You build according to the design criteria in your method. You test it. You evaluate it in the results. You discuss it in your discussion section. You comment on the design criteria in your conclusion to see if the prototype works or does not work. Okay? You don't just work the prototype and say the prototype is working like you did with the jaws of life. You just moved it and say, yay, it's working. We have specific measurable items that we need to see for the design criteria. Okay? How do you write the design criteria? Again, we want to see, again, measurable quantities, quantifiable targets. What weight or speed must this prototype achieve? Okay? So there must be something that we can measure in your design criteria. So now here we are saying that the bridge, okay, tell me what information is missing in this following design criteria. So the bridge must support a minimum load without showing any sign of collapsing or deformation or falling or breaking. What information is missing in this design criteria? Who can tell us that one? Write it in the chat if you know it. What important information is missing? Okay? Anyone? Anyone wants to take a guess? of what information is missing? Nobody. Do we know what quantity?
Somebody says weight.
Yes, there you go. Very good. Who was that? Well done. If you said weight,
Just LN. Yeah.
okay, that's well done. We're saying minimum load. What is a minimum load? 100 kgs could be a minimum load. 1 kg could be a minimum load. So we need to be specific, right? So that is what is missing. The measurable quantity. Okay. Now, there's somebody mentioned about wanting to have a security, something to look for people underwater. We need to know underwater, how deep underwater must this device work? For how long must the device work? How many hours, minutes, seconds? Okay, so that's the kind of measurable quantities we're talking about. So here's an example. And also note, when you're writing the design criteria, please do not write long paragraphs. We don't want stories for the design criteria. Use bullet points. How long must the battery last? The material, does it need to be water resistant? What the weight must be, the size must be. So for example, if your device that's going to be looking for people underwater, it needs to be water resistant. You can't maybe use it. It shouldn't be made out of metal because metal will rust. Okay? So these are all things that you need to think about now while you're writing up your research plan. And with the engineering projects, this is the biggest problem that we find. Children are not testing. They don't write the design criteria properly. They don't test the design criteria, and that is where they lose marks. Now here, we're also giving you some ideas of how to write the design criteria. You group them according to categories, right? There's about 6 or 7 categories. So the first category is functionality. What is the purpose? What function must it be? Must that prototype serve? And there's also examples for each category to give an idea of what you could write. Performance criteria. Here we're looking at speed, accuracy, efficiency. You can even write that. Functional requirements, dash, write down what must your prototype be able to do in terms of functioning. Performance. You can write performance next to it, discuss the speed. Okay? And safety. See, we're looking at safety requirements. So you can even put that heading, safety requirements. What must the device have to ensure that it is safe, especially if it's going to be worn in the body and things like that. D, we're looking at material and durability constraints. So if you're looking at durability, we can't use things like cardboard or paper. We need to use plastic. We need to use maybe metal. If it needs to be waterproof, then we can't use wood, for example, or the wood must be treated. So here is an example, the drone must be lightweight and the material it must be, made of. E, cost. Give the costing. You might want to make the prototype cheaper than the existing device that's out there. That could be why you're making the prototype, because you want to reduce cost. It costs 2,000 to buy. You want to build it for 200 Rand. What about environmental considerations? So your prototype, whatever you want to build, you want to build that device, the robot that's going to clean the river. It must not go and further damage the plants and the animals living in the river. Okay? So you could state that no animals or plants must be pulled out of the river when the robot is working. Okay? So just to give you an idea. Okay, and here's an example. I always use this example of carrying shopping bags up the stairway, right? Now you're going to do your literature review. You want to find a device that you can use. So this is where you research systems. And you might want to make this kind of hydraulic lift, or like this one that you made for Jaws of Life. You might want to use a pulley system, right? So this is where you're getting your idea from of what it is that you want to build. You're doing the research. Okay? Let's see if you can give me the design criteria, right? So that's the problem. We're looking at carrying heavy shopping or boxes. Let's say for elderly people, right? An elderly person.
Sorry.
The aim is to create a more efficient and safe system to carry boxes and groceries up the stairs. Your engineering goal would be to design and construct. So based on this, all of these research that I did, we decided to go with the hydraulic lift, to design and construct a hydraulic lift that will be able to safely carry a load. I'm giving the measurement, minimum 500 grams. It must go up and down, and the height, minimum height of 1 meter. Right? So I've got measurable quantities. Can you list the design criteria for me? Can you give me any design criteria? Anyone? Remember the categories. There's your categories here. Oh dear, we already 20 past 7. Safety. Is safety a feature? Will safety be a criteria? Yes or no? Will safety be a criteria for your prototype?
Yes.
Yes, because you need to make sure the groceries are kept safe, right? Is performance criteria? What performance criteria? Let's go back. What performance criteria? The prototype must. Performance criteria? The height you're given the height. So it must be able to go up and down for a height of 1 meter. Okay? Functionality even. Efficiency. Does the prototype need to be easy to operate? Anyone? Does it need to be easy to operate? Yes or no?
No.
Does anyone say
No.
yes? Is anyone saying yes, it must be easy to operate?
Yes. Yes.
Why must it be easy to operate? Why must it be easy to operate?
Yes.
Why should it be easy to operate?
For some elderly people. Can I
Because it's
answer,
for
please?
the
Elders.
elderly. There, someone's got
Elders.
it, right?
Yes,
Elderly.
I got.
There you
Yes.
go. It must be easy to operate because it's for the elderly. Okay. So now here's some of the design criteria I decided to put in the research plan. Stability, it must be stable. Weight, height, safety. Okay, I chose these 3. Now, this is in your research plan. You draw the table. When you're testing, remember, you're going to finish the research plan. You're going to build your prototype 1. I built prototype 1, right? You're going to test it against the same criteria. Sorry, go back here. You're going to test it. You're going to test stability. You're going to test whether it can carry 100 grams. You're going to test the height. Can it go up for 1 meter? You're going to test whether it is safe. Is your packaging falling off or not? Did the box fall off? You test the first prototype. And then you see that things are falling off. Maybe it's not going up to 1 meter. Then you move to prototype 2. Now you see in prototype 2, it's made out of cardboard. We increase the base to make it more stable. So now we move on to prototype 3, and then we test the same criteria. Each time we test the same criteria. Every time we improve the prototype. So this is what we do in the journal when we are testing the prototype. And then we write it up thereafter in the report. Okay, just to recap very quickly, hypothesis or engineering goal is written in the introduction. Variables, design criteria are written in the method and is used. Hypothesis and variables are used for scientific investigations. Engineering goals and design criteria are used for engineering and computer science projects. All of them must include measurements, quantities. Okay? And, oh, thank you. That brings me to the end of my part of the presentation. And we can just take questions now that will be linked to the research plan. Okay.
May I ask?
Questions linked to the research plan.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. I'm going to give you 5 minutes and then we're going to 5 minutes and then we have to end the chat. Okay.
At the research plan, I've saw at the materials and I saw the preliminary designs, and I was confused that I must attach them at the research plan or not.
Yes. So let me stop sharing there and show you the research plan for engineering. Let's go to the research plan for engineering. You should be seeing the research. Okay, that's scientific. Let's go to engineering. There's your engineering research plan. Under the section of method, there's the heading here. Remember I told you all the blues are the headings? So you would remove all of this because that's the instruction. And this is where you will draw your design. Even once you've typed this out, you can draw the design by hand. You can draw the design on the computer. That's up to you. Okay. This is a Word document. So you can go in and you can type all your information here. You just delete all of the instructions and you start typing whatever you want to type. Okay. You know where to put the design now. There's a heading here. It says describe your design criteria. Okay. So here is where you're going to put the heading. You're going to remove all of this. Oh, not data analysis. Don't remove data analysis. That's another heading. Here you're going to remove all of this and you're going to write the heading design criteria. And then you're going to put the criteria down. Yes, number 1. And so on. Yes. Next question.
Ma'am.
Raise your hand, please, so that we can see who has the question.
Ma'am, can I quickly ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, you finished as an example in your experiment. So does that mean we are allowed to use plants as it is not harmed?
Yes, you can. You can investigate with plants, but you're not going to be allowed to bring the plants to the district expo or to the regional expo. Right? You are allowed to do studies on animals, but you've got to work with a scientist. You got to work with a vet if you're going to be studying something about animals. Okay? That may be required some kind of yes.
If we are doing diseases and illnesses, can we use plants as a substitute as humans?
You could do that, but it depends on whether it's going to
Okay.
lend itself. Give me an example.
We're not sure yet.
Okay. You could use a leaf of the
Thank
plant,
you.
right? Let's say you've come up with a lotion to use on dry skin. So remember ethics, you cannot get people to test that lotion on their skin. So you could take a leaf, a dry leaf, a leaf that is green, and you can apply the lotion on the leaf and see the effect. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
That sort of thing. Okay.
And since it's not allowed to be in the board,
Say again.
since it's not allowed to be on a board, do we have to put it in a file or something?
Put what in a file?
Our research when it comes to the district.
Pictures. You'd put pictures. You would put pictures of your
Okay.
experiment. But remember the research plan. We're focusing now on the research plan. Remember the research plan, it's a plan. You have not started the project. You're presenting the
Yes,
teacher
ma'am.
with this plan, right? The teacher's checking, there's your reference page here. Your teacher will sign this, date it, then you go and start your study. And then you take pictures of your experiment as you observe 1 week, you take a picture. You're observing the second week, you take a picture. Those pictures will go into your report. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Any other question? We'll take one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your question?
Can we use Arduino components
Yes, you can.
like electoral components, like with that they have wires inside?
You can use it as long as the wires, you need to conceal the wires, they mustn't be exposed. You can use crocodile clips, clamps, or insulation tape to make sure the wiring is not exposed, right? If you're working with electrical things.
At the District Expo, are we allowed to carry or bring photos when the materials is not yet is insufficient?
You want to bring a picture of the material. So if
Like
your material is insufficient, then you need to have
not
what?
not materials, but a picture of a prototype that has been drawn.
Okay. You could do that, but remember that must go under the literature review section. This section here under literature review. This is where you would put that picture here. You'd stick the picture here and you'll give the reference of the prototype. This is what the prototype that was done before looks like. And under the method section, we'll have a diagram of what your prototype looks like. We'll have a diagram. You get that?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am.
And also, if you haven't started your project, you must be able to tell the judge, where are you going to get the materials from? Don't come to the District Expo and have no idea. I don't know where I'm going to get the materials from. You must have already thought about all of these things before coming there. See, all of these things. How will you collect and record the data? All of this you must have thought about. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. I think we have to stop now because we are well over. We've gone half an hour over our time. So what I can do, I have shared my email address. Okay, let me just stop sharing here. My email address back in the chat. Get your teacher to email me or your regional coordinator It's nalini@exposcience.co.za. Get your teacher to write down all the questions and send it to us. And we will try and answer them for the teacher, right? Because it looks like some of you haven't discussed your category with your teacher. You haven't discussed the type of project. So remember, you need to discuss this with your teacher. If your teacher is not helping you, or your teacher is not interested and the school is not interested, then your parent can send us the email, or you can email us. Okay?
Okay. Yes.
All right. Senzilwe, last question, and we can't take any more. Last question. Your hand is raised. This is the last question. Are you going to ask your question? Otherwise, I'm going to ask Sai Naidu to ask the question. He says something about social science study. Sai, what do you want to know about a social science study?
Good evening, ma'am. I would just like to know if we will be able to go over the social science study part of the
The research
expo
plan.
slide.
The research plan. You want me to go over the research plan for social science? Okay, so here is the research plan for social science. That's engineering. Is a social science, yes. So you can see all the headings are the same for the scientific investigation. It's just here under the methods section where the difference is. We're looking at the design of your research. Are you doing a qualitative or quantitative research? Are you going to be doing questionnaires? What instruments? Here are the aspects that you need to answer under the methods section. Who is your target group? How did you select the target group? Where are they located? Age groups. How will you select the sample? So these are the questions that you will answer under the social science study, under the method section. Okay. What we also want to see is under the data analysis, we want to see the questionnaire, your draft questionnaire, what questions you're going to be actually answering. And here, when it comes to ethics, here you will tell us about participants, consent for participants. Participants need to sign consent forms. The principal, if you're interviewing children at school, the principal needs to give a permission letter, right? And if these learners are minors, the parent must sign consent. So you can have a little consent section before the questionnaire. Okay? And all participants must be anonymous. They cannot write their real names on the questionnaire. So that is basically how you do. And then in your discussion section, you will just look at how people responded. Okay. So,
Thank you,
Sayan,
ma'am.
if you write up your questionnaire, you can send me this research plan if you're not sure, and we can have a look at it. Okay? What grade are you?
I'm in grade 7 now.
Okay. So you can write up the research plan, write up your questionnaire, send it to us, and we can have a look at it and give you feedback. Right. So I'm going to have to close the session now. You've seen my email address, and get your teacher to send us your questions if you have any. I don't see any further pertinent questions in the chat. So I think we can end here, Mr. Governor. I don't see any other questions that needs opportunity.
There's just one person, SB, seems to be very pressed on a question. SB.
Okay.
Senzelwe?
What is your question?
Senzelwe Buthelezi. Okay, I think they've gone. I don't know.
Okay, possibly.
Ma'am?
Yes?
May I just ask that one building, if I only need 2 electric components and the other materials that I use are not electric, do I fall under engineering?
Are you talking about engineering as a category or engineering as the type of project?
Type of project.
Remember, you're using engineering template. You're doing an engineering project if you are building something. If you are building something, you are using the engineering type of project.
Okay.
Now, I've told you guys to go and look at the category list for engineering. Go and look at the category list and the subcategories below engineering. That should tell you what type of project you are doing. Okay? I'm going to show this for the last time. Let me just share this for the last time. I really don't understand why there is such confusion between the type of project and the category. Okay? Because here is the category. Here's the category. This is the category list. This is the categories, right? So if your project goes under the engineering category, it must be doing something. Look at number 8. Let's go to number 8. It would be engineering as a category if you were doing something that relates specifically to one of these bullet points, biomedical, chemical. There's a description here. So if you're using electrical components, then you'll be doing the category will be engineering, electrical, electronics is a subcategory. That's it. Go and look at the subcategories. That will tell you what category your project falls under. So you need to organize your thinking in terms of the type of project and the category. These are the categories and the subcategories. Okay. Go and download this and study this carefully. It's different from the types of projects. Remember, you can have an engineering project in the engineering category. You can have a scientific investigation in the engineering category, right? So that's the difference. Okay. So go and review this nicely. Spend some time and go through this. Okay, so I'm going to stop share now, and I think we're going to end here. Other questions, you can send them to us via email, and we'll respond to you as best we can. Thank you very much, everyone, for staying on till so late. It's almost 8 o'clock. So thank you. I hope we've answered most of your questions and given you some guidance how to write up your research plan, how to do your investigation, and things like that. So you're most welcome to send us your research plan if you want us to review it and give you some advice before the District Expo. You're most welcome to do that. Okay? So thank you, everyone. Take care. Remember, you must register. You must register to participate in the District Expo. And if you don't have that link to register, you can ask your teacher to send me an email or send us a WhatsApp. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Good night. Take care. All the best with your Expo project. And we'll see you soon at the District Expo. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.